Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to do a handover video on this Benimar Tessoro based on the 2020 Ford Transit chassis. So under the bonnet we've got the washer fluid over on the left hand side, brake fluid attached here to the servo, engine oil gets topped up through this little point just here, nice and easy to get to, and your engine oil dipstick is the yellow topped one down there. You then got your air filter, sits underneath this cap on this box at the top of the engine, just literally a couple of clips on the sides to get that to open out. You've got the engine coolant over here in this reservoir on the right hand side, which you can see is at the absolutely perfect level just there, bearing in mind the engine's cold. It has got a little symbol here, so if you were to jump start the vehicle, you've got your positive terminal just underneath this little cap, so that's your positive terminal for the engine battery, and it tells us here that the earth, or the negative side of the jump start, is this engine hoist just here. So it just shows you where that is basically. So positive, negative if you want to jump start it. The engine battery on this will sit underneath the driver's seat, and coincidentally the leisure battery sits under the passenger seat. So the passenger door, there's not much to show you on the inside of here. If it was on a Fiat, I'd be showing you that the bonnet release handle was here, but actually on the Fords you actually have to use the key on the outside to open up the bonnet. It's been the same on those for absolutely years. So yeah, leisure battery underneath the passenger seat, and I'm pretty much certain that the engine battery would be there underneath the driver's seat. In fact, I can see that it is. So that's where those batteries are. You have got an absolutely incredible spec in the actual cab itself, but I'll get to that in just a minute when we carry on walking around. The fuel filling point and so this is your diesel filling point up here. You can just put the nozzle straight in this piece at the top here, and your AdBlue filling point is just underneath there. So you have got two openings there. You do have to have the passenger door open to open this fuel filling point up, which is just another extra sort of safety feature of that, so no one can get to there. You've got the external gas and water point just here, so this is a rake sort of part. You have got the external shower hose just there, brand new for you, and obviously the gas point, I'm pretty sure there's one of those in there as well, so if you wanted to use that external barbecue point basically, and an external cold water point. You've then got the Truma boiler vent, so I will show you how the Truma system works when we get inside, but that there is the vent for it. So if you do have the boiler lit up on gas, or you know, working it however way, you will feel warm air coming out the bottom of this. We've then got these two large vents just here, so these are both for your fridge. So if you ever needed to get to the back of the fridge for whatever reason, that's how you get to that. We've had the new awning put on because the last one was slightly damaged at the rear, so there's a brand new awning. We've literally just put that on a few minutes ago, so all working nicely as you would expect from a brand new part. So you've got the toilet cassette locker here as well, so this is your Thetford toilet cassette. So to actually use this system, it's really easy. You basically just pull this little blue handle up and the cassette will then come completely out. All you need to know really, it's pretty simple how they work, but essentially all you need to know is that you've got this little cap here, which is your draining point, and when you're emptying it out, you should be holding down the little blue button there at the back, and that's basically just a pressure release valve. The only other thing I will mention is that every now and again you should try to remember to lubricate this little rubber seal, as that will sort of start to go hard and perish. If that does start to perish, then you'll start to get things leaking past this and into this locker here. So it's quite important to keep that lubricated, and you should use a silicone lubricant to do that with. So at the rear of the van you've got an absolutely massive garage, clearly big enough for the spare wheel. That's a full-size spare with a Michelin tyre. All the carpets for the motorhome are in here as well. We tend to keep them in here just so that you can see they're all in one place and neat and tidy. just a few extra bits and bobs really in the back at the moment. Nothing sort of interesting apart from the awning winder is down there, nice and easy. You have got a nice LED light which will light up the back end really nicely, and of course being LED won't use up much power from the 12 volt. You've got the 2-bike bike rack with the correct handles for gripping onto the top of the bikes. Massive great big windows all the way around, so loads of natural light coming in. The wastewater drain off point is this one just here, and you quite literally pull the handle out towards you and that'll start draining out all the wastewater out onto the floor. The freshwater drain is inside the tank just underneath the side settees, which I will point out to you when we get inside. This locker here is the gas locker, as you can tell. So you have got space in here for either 2 of these size bottles, so this is a 6 kilo propane, or you could, by the looks of it, fit 2 13 kilo bottles in here if you wanted to. Now you don't have to, obviously. I mean, you can have whatever size bottle in here really. Of course you probably want the biggest size you can, but a couple of these 6 kilo propanes is plenty, you know, even if you're going away for a long time. This sort of gas does last a lot longer than you might expect. So just briefly, to turn the bottle on, we go anti-clockwise round to the left, so that's turning it on, and clockwise round to the right will turn the bottle off. You should always turn these bottles off before you start driving, and of course turn them back on again when you want to use them when you park up. It does tell you here on this little symbol that you shouldn't have it on when you're driving, and a sort of maximum working pressure, so 30 millibar will be what the regulator up here is set to allow in to the van. So that's nice and easy. You've got the freshwater filling point here, so literally just if you want to fill up your fresh tank, that's where you fill it up from. And your hookup point just here as well. So having access to a hookup cable means a few things. It means that you'll have full power in your leisure battery at all times, because the battery charger will come to life and keep you all completely charged up. It also means that you can use any 240 volt appliances on the inside, which I will point out to you, but some of those include the fridge, the boiler. Most of the things in the van will work on gas as well, but it is also, you know, just gives you another option to use. So I will point out a few of those bits and pieces on the inside, but that's the general gist of the outside. Okay, so in the cab itself, you've got the full blackout blinds. So to use the blackout blinds, it's so easy. All you have to do is squeeze these little bits together, and that will then release the blind. And pull it back, make sure you line it all up, and then push them back in like that. So you just literally squeeze those 2 bits together and then pull it all the way across. Same goes for the front of the windscreen. So you pull these together, and then the same on the other side, and they'll meet up in the middle with the magnetic strips, and they'll close together. So really, really simple to use, but you know, it saves you having to block off the whole front end of the van. You know, so instead of doing that, you can literally use the whole van right to the very front and still be completely blacked out at night. So the steering wheel, you've got various bits and pieces on here. So you've got the cruise control section on the left hand side, so you've got your cancel, resume, limiter, all that sort of stuff there. You can, this is always sort of to do with the radio, so you can decrease and increase the volume, mute. You can then flick through your songs or whatever you want to do on here. It also does this center screen here, I believe. You can answer and decline phone calls and all that sort of stuff. So it's all just nice and modern on here. You've got the 6-speed manual gearbox. So having this 6th gear, obviously on modern vehicles, it's just something you come to expect nowadays, but it does make a hell of a difference. You've got side lights, main beam or automatic, so you can leave the lights in automatic mode if you want to. That's where I would have it. You can adjust the brightness of the center screen. You've got your electric adjusting mirrors, so you select which mirror you want to move and then move it around like a joystick, basically, to move the mirror where you want it. You've got the traction control button and your driving mode button there as well. Air conditioning works from this switch just here. Heated windscreen is this button here in the middle. So whether or not you can see it on the camera, I don't know. Just trying to, yeah, oh, there you go. You can just about see it then, where you've basically got all these little swiggly lines down the windscreen. It's really easy to see in person. But when you put this heated windscreen button on, it basically just starts to very, very slightly warm those up. Which, you know, in the winter does make a hell of a difference. It means you haven't got to get out and start scraping the windscreen. It will just melt it all off for you. So that's always a really nice thing to have on these Transits. From what I know, I think it is only the Transits that do that. So it's always a nice thing. You have got the upgraded centre screen, which works really nicely. The only thing we're waiting on at the moment is a new camera, because the camera at the rear of the van is faulty at the moment. We have sort of diagnosed that to find out that was the issue. So there will be another one coming very, very soon, and that will resolve that issue. But there is going to be obviously a fully working reversing camera. We've also got the start-stop button over there on the left-hand side, and I mean absolutely loads of 12-volt sockets. They've got a couple of USB and a 12-volt up there. There's some lower down as well, I think. The USB socket next to that one. And I will just point out this here as well. So this is like a kind of phone holder, I guess. So you put your phone in here or whatever in there, and then let go of it and it will clamp down on top. So that's quite clever. Again, just, you know, being such a modern vehicle, it's just sort of catering for the modern day, I suppose. But there you go. So I'll just turn around now, go into the back end. So as you can see already, absolutely loads of really, really posh LED lighting around the vehicle. So lots of nice sort of background lighting behind the cupboards and all little bits and pieces like that. So really nice modern vehicle. So first thing I'll go through is the Benimar branded control panel over here. So the control panel itself is really, really simple. There's, you know, there's not much to sort of go wrong with it, if you know what I mean. So what you've essentially got is a main on and off switch up here. Once you've turned that on, you can then turn the 12-volt switch on next door to it. So turn these two on, and that will then give you power to your lights or anything else that might be 12-volt, or in other words, leisure battery powered. You can then turn your water pump switch on, and it's really important to do something once you've done that and checked that you've got at least some fresh water in the tank by pressing this button just here. So you can see there we're on a third of a tank, if you like, just shy of a third of a tank. So water pump switch on, check you got a little bit of water in the tank, and then just do what I'm going to do now. So you basically just come to this sink here and pull the water through. So we'll try the hot. Pump's kicked in and we've got good pressure at the tap here. Go over to cold and we've still got good pressure. If the pump turns itself off, which it has done just then, that tells me for an absolute fact that the van has got no leaks and the boiler is up to pressure. So it's really important that you do that, and the reason that is that if you try and light the boiler up, or if you don't do that, basically, if you try and light the boiler up, what will happen is, if you've not got any water in it, or if you've not got enough water in it, it will try and light up the boiler and heat the water up when there's nothing there, or not enough there. And so, you know, you can probably work out what would happen. It will just overheat and everything starts to go a little bit wrong. So it's really important that you do that. If you want to save the life of your boiler, might sound a bit dramatic, but if you want to save the boiler, just you know, take a couple of seconds just to check that you've got pressure at the tap there, and that just proves to you that the boiler's got water in it. If the boiler didn't have water in it, by the way, just point this out, if the boiler didn't have enough water in it, what would happen is you would pull the tap here with the pump on, and you would just get air coming out through the tap. It's not a problem if that happens. All you have to do is two things: make sure you've got enough water in the tank by checking over there, and then just leave it and wait for it to fill the boiler back up again. You know, sometimes when you come to the van after not being in it for a little while, you'll find that there is some air in it. That's completely normal, but you just need to make sure that you've got good pressure there before you try and light the boiler up. So once you've done that, you can just forget about it and just start, you know, using the van exactly as you want to. You don't have to worry about that again. You've got an awning light here, so this light here will light up outside. So if you've got the awning wound out and you're sat outside, you have got access to a light outside there. Just gonna open this door a little bit. It is warm today. Okay, so you've then got over on the right hand side here, you've got this little symbol here, which is two batteries sort of like grouped together. So when you start the engine up, you should get a little light come up next to the two batteries joined together. What that means is that your split relay is working as it should. So a split relay basically takes power from the engine or from the alternator and sends it back to the leisure battery as well as the engine battery. Okay, so essentially the exact same way as your engine battery gets charged up as you drive, the leisure battery will as well. So that's what that light there will tell you. That means that the split charger is working. The one underneath there, when you hook up on the mains, you should get a light next door to this one. That's telling you that the mains power is in and it's working. At the bottom here, we've got your level indicators. So you've got the leisure battery voltage. So if I press on this one, check the bottom scale here. So we're nearly at 100% for the leisure battery. Engine battery voltage, just over half. That's absolutely fine. Fresh water level, like I already showed you, we check the top scale now, and then we can adjust the brightness of the screen. All right, so that is the control panel, nice and easy. Nothing too technical about it, to be completely honest. Next door to it, we've got the Truma iNet Ready system. So there is, in this cupboard next door, there is this little box here which you might see sort of flashing at you. Now this, because it's the nice modern Truma system, you've got Bluetooth there, which I think, don't hold me to this, but I'm pretty sure you can hook your phone up to this system and maybe get an app or something for it. I seem to remember there being something about that. We don't tend to deal with such new vehicles as often, so this is slightly new to me, but the actual iNet Ready system is you know, that's kind of, I know how to explain this, but it's the Bluetooth thing that I'm not quite so clued up on. But anyway, so once you get onto this main screen here, you'll have the time showing up here. All you've got to do is press the middle button. Straight away you'll notice that this little caravan with a temperature symbol in it is flashing. We'll click on that one and we can scroll through, and this is our heating. So you set your temperature anywhere from 5 to 30 and then press go, basically. So it's not going to work today because it must be about 30 degrees outside anyway, so that's not going to work. So that is your internal temperature, that's your thermostat for the heating. The next one across is the hot water. So we've got off, eco, hot and boost, and as you get, you know, simple as you just basically select which one. If you're not in much of a rush for the hot water, you might choose eco, and that'll just basically do its thing for a little while, and when you're ready you'll have hot water. If you are in a bit more of a hurry, you can choose boost, or if you just you know there's just the other option of hot, basically, which is just in between the two. So that's how you use that. So I'll leave it on just for a minute just to get it warmed up, just so we can see that it's all working. The next one across, this one here, is your energy selector. So with the boiler, you've got 240 volt electric, which is your hookup, or gas. That's the only two ways that this boiler will work. And so at the moment I haven't got the hookup plugged in, so the only way I can use it is gas. So I hover over it, click on it, and I would select gas. If I had the electric plugged in, I could use a mixture of both, or mix one or mix two, or I could just use electric. But as I said, for the time being, I can only use it on gas. The last one over here is your fan. So we can use it as a vent if we want to. If you've got the heating on, that is, obviously. But you can basically use it when you've got the heating on. If you click on this one, it will basically ask you how fast you want the fan to be running, and that will basically just adjust how quickly the air pumps through these little circular vents around here. So if you've got the heating on, if it is cold outside, you can just adjust how much hot air you want pumping out. So now that I've lit that up, you can probably hear it. You've got nice warm air coming out through there, and eventually, I mean, probably not on a day like today because it is so hot, but if it was a bit cold outside, you would literally see water dripping down here, dripping off down to the side of the van, and that is completely normal. That's not that, it doesn't mean it's leaking or anything like that. It just means that the condensation in the boiler is getting a bit too much. So that is your heating and hot water on the True Marinet system and your control panel next door to it. So this particular model has got the electric drop-down bed, and the really nice sort of like diner area here. So both front seats will swivel around, they're both captain's chairs, and that then gives you the access to using this table as the diner area. Your water tank sits underneath this seat here, and as I said before, your water drain, your fresh water drain, will be in the tank or next door to it, but that's underneath there. You shouldn't ever really need to, well, I say ever, you know, eventually you'll need to, but it's less common to have to get to the fresh water drain off, which is why they don't always put it outside. Of course, when you finish with your, you know, your holiday, you should always drain your wastewater out, because it's going to be horrible and dirty water. But the fresh, if you keep up to date with it, if you sort of just use it all up every time you go and put fresh water tablets in it and stuff like that, you know, you shouldn't really have to drain it out that often. But that's the sort of layout of the front just here. In the rear of the van, you have got the fixed island bed. The back end of the bed here does lay completely flat, obviously. You've just basically got to pull it towards you and that will lay down flat. Push it back up again just by pushing this with your hand. It's really, really easy. So the electric drop down bed, quite literally, you've got this little button just here. So if I just show you, it will miss the TV, by the way. So you keep going until it stops like that. It'll hit the little limiter switch and that's it. So you've got the ladder just here, which will hook onto these little pieces here, and it's nice and easy to get up. And when you're done with it, it's always slower going back up, by the way. It's not just this fan, it's all electric beds. It's just so much heavier to go back up than it is to come down. So, and there you go. So that's your electric drop down bed. Right, so just here we've got the microwave in here. This will only work when you're hooked up on the mains, okay? Unless you've got an inverter or something like that, which is something I don't personally recommend at all, then you cannot use this until you're hooked up on the mains. You've then got the fridge down here, which I have got on at the moment, and then the reason that we know it's on is that you've got a little blue light inside the on and off switch. So once you've got that blue light on, that means the fridge is on and it's working. If this little blue light is flashing, or if it's gone red flashing, that means that there's an issue with it, or it's gone out or something. So to actually work the fridge, it is so easy. All you've got to do is just do what I did there. Just press this button once and it'll bring this little LCD screen up. So at the moment you can see I've got it lit up on gas, which is why we've got this little symbol here on, and I've got the temperature setting set to maximum. I can put the fan or the rear vent on and off there as well, but if you want to change the energy that this fridge is using, you can go through here and select whichever one you might want. So this one here is the mains cable, so if you were hooked up on the mains you could use that. This is for when your engine's running and the split charger is in motion, so that's when you're driving only. And that one there, as I said, is gas. So the only two ways that this fridge will get cold by itself is the gas or the mains, the hookup. All right, so you have to pre-cool this fridge. Doesn't matter what fridge you've got in a motorhome. Well, I say that, it's not exactly true, but nearly every fridge in the motorhomes really is the same. You can only, the 12 volt function, the little battery one there that I said was working, you know, for when you're driving, all that really does is retain the temperature that you've already put inside the fridge. It doesn't so much cool the fridge down, it just keeps it cold once you've already started driving. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. You've got another option there which has a little A on it, which is an automatic mode. So this is what you call an AES fridge, an automatic energy selecting fridge. So this will, or it should, select the energy that it will, you know, that's most efficient for the fridge at all times. But quite often you'll find that they'll just sort of try and choose the wrong one and it will go a bit wrong. So more often than not, I tend to find it's just easier to do it manually. So yeah, if you're hooked up on the mains, you use mains. If you don't have the mains plugged in, you use gas. And if you're going away and you're starting driving, choose the 12 volt. Press and hold on this to turn it off. Blue light's gone out, so we know the fridge is off. In this cupboard as well, you have also got your Teleco TV aerial booster, is what that is. So you have already got a really nicely hidden TV bracket in here, already plugged in to the 12 volt, and the aerial socket's plugged into it already. So I mean, we don't tend to mess about with the TVs so much, to be completely honest. It's not something we do as part of hab checks because they're not standard fitted things. But, you know, by the looks of it, this is a really nice, modern, proper Avtex TV, and I've got no reason to think that it won't work. So that is that. I will be honest, I'm not entirely sure why there is, I mean, there must be a reason for it. But why there's a vent in here, I don't know. Possibly to do with the ventilation for the fridge or the microwave here, because they are constantly ventilated. So even when they're completely closed like that, there is ventilation that you can count when you're manufacturing a vehicle. So that's probably got something to do with it, but there you go. All right, so in this little kitchen area, you've got the option of the electric hot ring here. So this is from this little dial on the left hand side. Now again, this will only work when you're hooked up with the mains. In saying that, you have also got the two gas burners here on the right. These two middle ones control the gas burners, and you've got an ignition switch as well. Below that, you've also got the oven and grill. So push in and round to the right to light the grill up. Hopefully. Or did I turn the gas off? Well, maybe I turned the gas off. Anyway, the oven and grill, nice and easy. You just push in and round to the right for the grill, in and round to the left for the oven. So that is the oven and grill. Okay, I will double check that, by the way, before you start thinking I've left it not working. So the shower is nice and easy. I don't really tend to run through the bathroom area stuff so much because it's, you know, I mean, there's not much to it. You just literally hot and cold. Obviously take out this floor piece here before you use the shower, otherwise it will just come into here. But yeah, I mean, nice and modern shower. Oh, that's a good feature, actually. They put these little things in here so you can't close the door without taking it out. So, right, so you've got the turbo fan up here. So, turbo fan's nice and easy to use. You've basically got an on and off switch here and a little diagram next to both of these buttons. So if I press this side here now, it'll start blowing the other way. It'll start spinning the other way. And what that does is it either starts to blow the air out or push the air in. So if I wanted a fan coming into the vehicle to keep the vehicle cold, I would have it coming down and into the vehicle like I have now, with the window of the skylight opened up. Okay, so that's a really good way to get nice cool air coming in. But if I was cooking, the reason they put them here, if I was cooking, I can also use it as a nice powerful extractor. All right, so now it's sucking the air out, and so if you were cooking, all that smoke will just go outside here. So it's a nice, clever sort of thing. It's actually a really good alternative to having air con. I mean, on this particular vehicle, it would be almost impossible to have air conditioning without taking out this big skylight, which you do not want to do because you'll lose all of your light because of the electric drop-down bed. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if air conditioning wasn't even an option when you were buying these new. So, but this is a really nice alternative to have, the turbo fan. The sink, as I said, I don't even tend to run through those anymore because they're, I mean, I showed you earlier on how to pressurize the system, but there's just nothing to them really, just hot and cold on the mixer tap. Right, so this will come across, this door here will come across here to separate the rear from the front. Obviously, of course, because the you've kind of got like two living areas. So having the bed down there, you can pull the door across and you can have front and rear sleeping areas. The toilet in the bathrooms is generally speaking the only thing I tend to run through, because quite often it's the only things that people haven't used or can't work out. So these are really simple. You've basically got a little red, I keep on doing that today, a little blue button over here on the left hand side. Press the button and the flush fluid will pump around. So this is a freshwater flushing toilet, so it means you will have to have some fresh water in the tank in order to use it, and also means that you have to have the water pump switched on if you want to flush the fluid around. Push this over to the right to allow this to open up and drain into the cassette, and then pull it back to close the flap back over. You've then got a little gauge on here which will show up red when you need to empty the toilet cassette, although to be completely honest you'll be able to tell by looking in there pretty without being disgusting. You will see it, you know, when it needs to be emptied, you'll know about it, so that's nice and easy. Okay, so in the back end you've just got some nice USB sockets over here, which is always helpful nowadays. And as I said, the bed is so easy to use, just literally pull it towards you and it will lay down dead flat. But it kind of doubles up as, you know, if you were sat upright, if you wanted to sit upright in the mornings, you can leave it as it is now, and it also gives you more space walking around these corners here. In fact, it gives you loads of space. A lot of the island bed models nowadays, when you have the island bed made up fixed and you can't push it back up like this, you get like a foot or less of space, you know, I mean much less than that even, you know, so you have to sort of shimmy your way through here to get around the sides. So so you know, this is much better to have it laid out like this. So I think I've pretty much shown everything there is on the van. Well, not everything, there's always going to be more stuff, but everything I can show you here with one hand. So if you think I've missed anything out or anything you'd like going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.